Can you tell me what the term mentoring means to you?
Mentoring, it actually happens without mentoring. Mentoring, in a sense, is a way of laying your life out in front of someone that they can see the transparency of who you are, and allow them to glance at what's going on in your life and how you make decisions. I think a lot of people look at mentoring and equate it with teaching, where you have a certain set of principles and you want to lay those principles on somebody. But I think mentoring in and of itself is living your life in a way that's transparent for somebody to watch, to see how do you make decisions, how do you struggle with temptation, how do you treat people, what is your prayer life like. The guys that I have in Corral at APU aren't necessarily coming up to me. I've had some guys come up and say, "Would you mentor me?" And I said, "What does that mean?"
Right.
What do you want me to do? You know, and so I have this, because it must be an agenda, right? I don't think it's agenda driven. I think mentoring is a relationship, and it's a transparent relationship that I can let people see my life, and then say, "Hey, wait a minute. You're going to make a decision. Let me give me some of your rationale. Why are you making that decision now?" Because now the trust factor has happened. They know my life, but in that relationship, I know their life. So it's not something that can happen in 24 hours or maybe 24 days. And in this, super fast world, we want it yesterday.
Right.
And it takes time. I am transparent.
Okay, so just being fully honest.
Yeah. Fully honest, and I don't hide. And they see my reality, and I don't even have to talk about being real. I don't have to say, I had this struggle, or I had that struggle, or I had this temptation, but they can see the way I live my life, that there's an authenticity to the presentation of what I do and how I do and what I say, that allows them to understand that I'm not going to be unauthentic in a relationship. So that they can come to me, and what they're going to get is the full authenticity of everything that I am, my beliefs, my walk, my stumbles, my intention, my attention, and the trust that I have in the relationship, that my authenticity allows me then for them to trust me. Because you're going to open up, they're going to open up to you and say things to you that is going to cotton pick and stagger your brain. And you gotta go, whoa. And when they tell you, you go, wow. Inside, I try not to show that shock.
Right.
I'm going, wow, he really thinks that? And so I had a young man come into my office, and he said, I got a question. I go, yeah. He says, how far is too far? And I was shocked. I mean, and I had another young man come to me and say, I was a homosexual and deciding to give up that lifestyle. And I said, well, and in both cases, I was shocked that they had the courage to come to me with those kinds of questions, knowing I wasn't going to go to them and go, hey!
Right.
But in that time, I could deal with this young man who said, you know what, that lifestyle was wrong for me. And then explain how what we were doing and what the corral was happening and how I was being transparent was helping him make decisions and change his life. And there was a mentoring process going on that I wasn't even aware of.
Right.
And the best part of it is I got to do that young man's wedding.
Wow.
So that was really cool. But and the other gentleman coming in and saying, how far is too far? We had a lengthy conversation, and he was very honest with me. I mean, I'm kind of going, whoa, I'm not sure I would have told anybody that, but okay.
Right.
But see, I think that's what happens when you have that trust factor, then you're allowed to speak into somebody's life, and they can, without consequence, come to you and say, this is where I'm at. I don't ask them to come, and I think that's the part of mentoring. I remember a teacher we had said, if you ever have a problem, my door's always open.
Right.
Nobody ever went to the door.
Right.
Because it was like, come on to my door. Well, they have to come willingly. It has to be a volunteer situation where they're going to come to you and say, I saw and I like, could I hear, could you help, could you infuse? And so, and then of course in my own life, I try to live my life in front of them as transparent as possible, to let them know temptations that I'm dealing with, problems that I'm having, decisions that I have to make. And they love stories, and so, I guess when you get older, you tell everybody stories, and they go, oh, gee, that's really cool. So I try to tell stories and say, when I was doing this, I had this, and then, so out of those situations.
It sounds to me like you're kind of saying that mentoring is kind of really just living life with other people. Sharing your problems as they experience their own problems as well.
And a great thing that I've learned is I've gone to them and say, I got a problem, and I need your help. I've got this situation. What would you do? You got to love guys. And they will realize and understand when you don't. If you're going to do something with intention, and the only reason you're doing it is because of intention, it's probably not going to be successful. I think you need to do it in terms of intentionally with God's direction and with a great deal of prayer. When I took the job at APU, I'm a choir director. That's my job. I never expected that part of the job would be mentoring. I never sought it, never tried to go after it, never tried to create it. It has just sort of blossomed out of the relationship that I'm able to create with these guys. And so I think that's the key. I mean, if you go out and say, okay, all right, guys, I'm going to mentor. Oh, you're my victim.
Right.
Well, dude, I don't want anything to do with you. So it's love them and be intentional about living who God is. Because anybody that is really centered and authentic and transparent is going to be sought by.